Okay, so this kind of came out of a conversation that Helena and I had the other day about a couple of important things that I consider when I'm working with somebody. And one is that I stay in a outcome frame. What do you want? What would that look like? How would that feel to you? And that it be as specific as we can make it. And I see so many therapies that go to a problem frame, like what's wrong and how are you feeling, and what's it like when you feel this way, and is it awful, and how awful is it? And so like if you would imagine somebody standing here, if you take them to the outcome frame and really begin saying, what is it that you want? It's a movement forward or up. And the obstacles become apparent the more you ask questions. So you're dealing with the same emotional material, but it's different because you're putting it in a frame of how do you get to where you want to be and what exactly is stopping you. So if it is a trauma experience, or if it is some past programming, or if it is that you're married to an asshole, whatever it is, so those things still come up and come into play in a very specific way, but it doesn't, if you're not letting them sink so far into quicksand that it's harder to pull them out. And the more I've learned about how the brain works, the more I see almost all of it as neurology, not psychology. Well, physiology, we can't do anything without bringing our physiology into it. But if you ask somebody what's wrong, I'll give you an example. I was at a conference one time and there was this beautiful young lady, like 16-year-old, who gave a speech about something big that she had overcome, like sexual abuse. And this gal was just like on fire, with strength and presence. And then she finished her speech and sat down, and all these older women came around and started, I don't know, it almost looked like they were pushing down on her. They're hugging her and they're doing all this stuff, but they were, I don't know, energetically. It was like, could I push this girl back in a cave? That's what it looked like. When she had taken all that bad stuff that had happened to her and turned it into resource, their programming was, if somebody's been hurt that bad, they must be broken.
Maybe there was a good intention of
I know there was a good intention.
give her love or give her what we think is support, but you're actually, you're pushing her back into the.
Yeah. And, just as a viewer of that, it would just really amazed me that energetically what it felt like. Instead of them going, whoa, 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 what a talk you gave and how you've transformed this. They were like, you know. So
Yeah.
so when I'm talking about neurology and I'm talking about the brain, almost any mishap, any trauma can be transformed into resource if it's worked with in a good way. And I see way, way too many people who take their healing and make it a lifestyle. And that to me is just robbery. Like to have teachers or mentors around you that help you stay stuck. Is what you just saw was a recording of a training that I did with Helena and Jodi a while back. And I'm experimenting with being able to come into the video and add something to it or explain what I'm doing or whatever. So this is just a test to see if I can manage to learn this program in a good way so that it's useful to me. So that was just an introductory piece into the outcome frame. And if I decide to put it somewhere, I will actually include the outcome frame, which is a very useful tool for helping people get away from a problem and towards a desired outcome. In NLP, we talk about our five senses and that some people favor one system over another. So if you think of the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and then taste and smell, those are the 5 modalities. And underneath each are submodalities.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take an example. Like, think of a small time when you felt somewhat humiliated or ashamed. Got one?
Mhm.
And so what did you get when I asked that? Is it something you see?
Sort of, yeah. There's also just like a memory
Yeah.
in
So,
my head.
and I'll tell Jodi, so watch Helena. So she went visual for a minute and then she went to her feelings.
Mm.
Well, actually, let me see. Yeah,
I did, and I did started feeling sad.
yeah. And Jodi went real visual and not as kinesthetic.
Okay.
So in asking the question and the way the brain works, the strongest answer is going to happen instantly. And then it's like it starts to dilute. So if you ask a question like, think of a time, or say something like, think of a time when, your strongest response is going to be immediate. So right away, I know that Helena's submodalities her modalities are working together to bring her a picture and then a feeling. And I think there were words in there too, sounds.
Yeah.
And Jodi's stronger visual than you are, and hers came as a picture. These are the 3 main modalities, okay?
Yeah.
And then taste and smell, we'll just put taste and smell, don't necessarily become somebody's main main modalities, but like for instance, I was working with an artist one time and she was explaining opening her first box of crayons and the smell of the crayon.
Oh, yeah.
So in her recall of opening a first box of crayons, she could she had an instant memory of the smell of the crayon itself. And that was a big piece of her impression.
Mhm.
Or like if maybe somebody fell off their bike and the smell of a bus going by, diesel, you know. So we want to pay attention to taste and smell, but they're not generally as powerful unless the person says, this is
Okay.
part of my impression. So I'm going to just kind of quickly run through these. So, and because so many people are so strong visual, that tends to be a big player. When I asked you about the memory of being slightly humiliated or ashamed, so I'm going to just call your attention to some, and you can use that example. So was the picture in color? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Or black and white? Was there motion?
Slightly. A little bit.
A little bit of motion? Okay.
Right.
And and this is the one that I tend to work with almost the most, like, where's the location? Like, was it in front of you, or is it up here, or is it over there, or where is it located? Okay.
Slightly to this side.
So all these things I'm giving you are submodalities of the main modality. And
Where did you say your location was, Helena?
Slightly off to the right. So it's like I was kind of facing forwards. And then the picture of what happened was just slightly over to my right.
okay.
Oh,
And then and what you learn as you play with these with people is there will very often be a critical submodality that's running the program. Okay. And that's when I start questioning somebody, that's what I want to learn. Like, is there a critical submodality that's playing out here that's more important than some of the others? And
Is it you self-critical?
huh?
Is it usually self-critical?
Self-critical?
Yeah, criticism of self rather than criticism of what someone may have said to you.
No, that's not yet.
Okay,
That's part of mining the process, though. Mining the experience is like just you asking me that makes it obvious. Do you need a nap? Yeah, we all do.
Will
Um,
do.
part of mining that, like, if you were my client and you asked me that question, I would probably know that there was a piece in there that was internal rather than external, you know? And so what you're in discovery with trying to find out everything you can about how that person has that experience stored neurologically.
Right.
Okay. And one of the biggest ones, and this is where it comes into play. Do you see yourself in that picture, or are you yourself in that memory? What?
I have two things. It's like, so when I said I was facing forward,
Mm-hmm.
it's dark. It's like an old memory from when I was a child. So I'm facing forward. So I'm Helena. And then I think there's this situation over here where I was talking to someone. So little Helena is there talking to this other person.
Okay. So that's the question I'm asking. Are you associated into the picture, or are you seeing yourself experience that? So that's one of the biggest drivers of trauma. Any kind of trauma experience or bad memory is we tend to not see ourselves as that younger self, but feel it like we're there again. So the question is, are you associated into that memory or dissociated?
And even if you saw your little self, like Helena was saying, you would still be associated in that memory. Like you would be experiencing it, right?
What tends to happen is it moves, like if you really thought about that experience, it moves in on you.
Yeah.
And you guys have worked with me enough to maybe know that it's a good idea to see yourself having that experience rather than feeling it fully, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like for me, I saw myself in the I saw myself, but I wasn't part of the experience. I just was like looking at myself
Okay.
in the experience.
Okay.
So that would be dissociated.
Yeah, a dissociated memory tends to have less impact than it's the way memories should be stored. Oh, that was when I was 3, and that was when I was 8. And we went to the state fair when I was 10, and we remember them as like a little picture album.
Mm-hmm.
But very often, if there's any trauma or extreme fear or extreme excitement or anything going on, is when the brain stores it right here. Like even 8 years ago when I had my car accident, if I come up to that corner on a rainy day, I'm right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain is saying, careful, remember what happened last time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the brain's intention is protection and safety.
Right.
But, when you're a 70-year-old woman and you get too associated into a 4-year-old's experience, even though the brain's intention is to protect you, you lose resource.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're working with this, we really want to have the person call attention to the fact that it's not fixed in stone. They can move that image around.
Right.
Okay. And if it's a really powerful experience, they will have recall on all modalities.
Mm-hmm.
They call it a 4-tuple. And I have no idea where 4-tuple came from. But like a person experiencing PTSD from an accident or from war or whatever, when that recall comes in, it brings all the senses in with it, which makes it more shocking, more scary, more noisy, more everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so extreme trauma of any kind is usually has submodalities in all the senses. So the impact is greater. That's what comes instant anxiety or even fainting, you know.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
let me just move through the other submodalities and then we'll talk about it as a whole. So in
Yeah.
the same with, let's have you draw on a personal experience. What is something that somebody said to you that just made you feel really good?
Okay.
Could be recent, could be a long time ago. Got one?
Yep.
Okay. Now, so if you tune into what those words are, which did either of you have a picture that went with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you would. But if you notice now, what was the tonal quality of that person's voice?
Total quality.
Yeah. Was it a soft voice? Was it a loud voice? Was it what was
Well,
the?
I'm
eh,
getting warm, and I don't know if that's really a tonal quality, but I just think of the word warm.
Okay, so that's you attaching your tonal quality to a feeling.
Okay.
Okay, so it's almost like if we could slow time down right here, we could see that, and I'll use Helena for an example. She caught a picture, she listened to the tonal quality, and it gave her a feeling. So that's three sensory modalities coming into play to form a sequence.
Oh, I see. I see. That's a sequence. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, and so if it was a trauma experience, you know, it's almost like we could put it in sequenced pattern. Get the picture, hear the tonal quality, get the nice warm feeling. You know, and that's the formation of a sensory sequence. And if it was an extreme traumatic event, you would almost not be able to separate them into a sequence. It would be a blast.
Oh, okay.
That happens. So it's like pictures, words, feelings, tastes, and smells just come slamming in and shut down the person. And then the brain goes into high stress, cortisol is released, shutdown happens, and it's either fight, flight, freeze, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so in a like less than a second from when something gets triggered to when that hits, less than a second.
Mm-hmm.
So working with, well, I'll try not to get too much going at one time here. But what we're trying to do is put a time stops in the sequences to say, okay, Helena got a picture in her mind, then a tonal quality, followed by a feeling. But it still all happened, boom, like that.
And your first question was, think of a time when, do you have it? And now, now notice did you say like, now notice the tonal quality? And that's what triggered
Yeah.
the sequence?
No, well, I want when I'm asking you to recall an impression of some kind, I want to mine it for whatever it has. Like if I were doing this, and let's just do it. So this is a person that said something really nice to you that made you feel good. You both got a picture. Jodi, you probably got a feeling too.
I've got a feeling here.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling usually is a combination of surprise and, oh, that's nice.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And so let's say this though. So Helena says warm. Okay. Let me line out a bunch more and then I'll show.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So for
Just
the
to clarify, the warm was attached to this person's voice. The quality of her voice was warm as she spoke to me.
and it made you feel warm.
Yeah.
And we could mine that much further because warm is not specific enough.
I know. Yeah.
Like
realize that.
what makes a person's voice feel warm to you? There's a tonal quality there. So the more you know, well, what is that? You know, was
Okay.
was it soft and modulated? Was it melodic? Was it quiet? Was it, so there's like this vast amount of information available, but you have to ask for it. And when
Okay.
somebody says her voice was warm, I don't know what that means other than, on a surface level.
Yeah.
But people, all of us respond to tonal quality like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and so paying attention to it and learning more about what that tonal quality is all about is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So the other auditory submodalities, and I can find in one of my notes in my books or somewhere a whole list of these, which I can do. So tonal quality, but location for the auditory. Like, where did you, from what direction did you hear that?
Oh.
Show me on your body. From straight in front of you, coming to you, okay? I'm waiting for Jodi to show me.
Oh,
Straight in
I
front,
see, I see the picture and, like,
and then the sound
coming
comes
to
to
me.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in some people that I've worked with, they will hear compliments in one location and self-criticism in another.
Like
And
the devil.
sometimes the sound is coming from up here, straight in front, even behind them. This one lady I worked with one time, the self-criticism, she would hear it in the tonal quality was her mother's voice, and she always heard it in the same ear. And so when we started messing with it, and I had her hear it in the other ear, it didn't have the same effect. You could mess with the submodalities.
Like
And-
say, now have Kermit the Frog say it in your right ear.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Was interrupting the brain waves.
Yes, yes.
there-
And so when you start messing with submodalities, you're actually messing with little neural pathways that are used to firing in a certain way. And you're saying, well, try it this way, you know?
I see. And you can only interrupt the sequence if you know what the sequence is.
At
And so
least-
there you got to ask enough questions to have enough information
Yes,
to see it.
yes.
Like I
and-
would have maybe stopped at warm, but then when you said, well, what's your definition of warm? I guess
Exactly,
my definition of warm would be what I think of as warm.
exactly. And
Yeah. Okay.
so whenever you're facilitating any of this, it doesn't matter what meaning you attach to it, any of it.
Yes.
It only
Right.
matters what meaning they attach to it.
Yeah.
And so the submodalities beneath each visual, auditory, kinesthetic, pictures, words, feelings, tastes, smells, getting to understand the submodalities is where it really gets rich.
Yeah. Okay.
And rich and complex. Even if I spent 3 hours sequencing somebody's submodality pieces in order, I probably only got this much of it,
Yeah.
because it's all so fast and we're all doing it all the time.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
But you asking these questions, I mean, it really brings it much more alive, much more into present moment awareness.
right. And most people, because most of our operational daily operations happen subconsciously, they're all happening outside of our awareness. Because there's so much awareness,
Right.
so much sensory information coming at us. We couldn't operate if we didn't just, level it.
Yeah. So
Like if you say, how are you feeling today? Good, But if you asked more about the good, we would want to know about your physiology, about what you're seeing in your mind, what you're hearing in your mind, what you're doing in your mind, in order
So
to
would you say things like, where do you feel good? Or
Yeah.
would you start with what is
that-
good?
Okay, so that the good is let me finish the
Oh,
submodality.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Because each one has its own list. Okay.
Okay.
So in the auditory, so the tonal quality, the where you hear it, Is it your voice or somebody else's? The volume? Is it loud or is it soft? So these are all the smaller bits and pieces of what we hear in our heads, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
and the breakdown of that. So, like I said, I'll find this list and send it to you because I'm
Okay.
probably missing some. So the kinesthetic then is, kinesthetic is both external and internal, like how something feels to you, like a piece of fabric. You know, your favorite blanket. So stored in your touch is the memory of the favorite blanket. Or
Right.
I actually went for a swim this morning before I got here. And so kinesthetically, externally, the feel of getting into the water.
Mhm.
Okay. Kinesthetic is also your internal, where fear happens, where anger happens, where love happens, where all your emotional stuff is going on and your physiological stuff. So I'll give you an example. So think of a time when you, everybody's had one where you almost got in a car accident or you almost got hit by a car or you almost got damaged in some way. You got one of those?
Mhm.
Okay. So in a very detailed way, your recall of that moment, what was it like in your body?
Oh,
Huh?
like like a, well, I'm seeing it, so it's
No, so Jodi, look at Helena. She's
Yeah.
seeing it, but she's feeling it because she's drawing it out for you with her body. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we're not just listening to her words, we're watching her show us. It's like this.
I felt like I felt like I was in a car that was turning. And I was like,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So
felt turning, yeah.
yeah, so in that, so then when you noticed the actual fear, where do you feel it in your body? In that moment, it changes with each moment, but where does fear hang out in your body like?
Probably in my stomach.
Okay. Generally, the people will report stomach, chest, which affects the breath and the heart, or a tightening in the head.
Yeah.
That's like a common three places that, or sensation like extreme tingling in my body, you know, like a movement of stuff like that, tingling, you know, or
Yeah, just for Helena's benefit, for me with mine, I would have said like my whole body got tingly, fast breath. I felt it probably in my stomach the most as far as like the heaviness of the fear or the scariness. And yeah, it was a whole body experience.
Right, right. And if you could, again, if you could slow the sensory sequence down, you would find many, many pieces in there. Yeah. You
Yeah.
would find the visual, the mental recognition that, oh shit, you know, something's bad is about to happen. You would feel the flood of cortisol or the cortisol flood in your body, the adrenaline flood. And, you know, so if you could take that single moment of extreme fear and put it in a sequence, it'd be about this long.
Mhm.
And even though it feels like one experience, it's not, it's a sequence.
Okay.
You know, Jamie, it's interesting. When I had my bike accident, I can recall the moment where I noticed something was wrong. I can recall the sensation in my body of, uh-oh, kind of fear.
right,
and in slow motion, and then I can't recall anything until I was, stopped on,
Going-
like, off my bike on the ground.
right,
But that, like, that in between moment in time, I have nothing still
Right.
today.
right.
Yeah.
And I think you would find this is a very common experience, especially in an accident. Same with me in my car
Mm.
accident. I remember
Okay.
seeing the side of the truck and going, uh-oh, you know,
Yeah,
no time to respond. And then I felt the collision and the spin, and then it sort of, everything went blank for a little bit. And I think that's probably you. So if we were comparing tragic accidents with each other, we'd probably find those commonalities, you know?
and what's interesting to me is that moment where you like can see it, you
Mhm.
know there's an uh-oh, you can feel it, and it's
Mhm.
slow motion. I don't know that I've ever had that before. So maybe it is only pertaining to those moments where there is something bad that's about to happen.
Mhm.
You
Well,
know,
and I think that if we could look at, like brain scans of that whole time, you would
Right, yeah.
probably, I mean, I would think that there's probably a protective measure in there that the brain interrupts, like, this person, my person could be dead here pretty soon, And
yeah,
so I have a feeling that there's, or even if we have complete loss of memory about something, that's again, the brain putting up some protective measure,
protecting. Yeah,
even the slowing it down.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it was a split second, but if the brain can slow it down,
It
maybe you
is
have
a-
a better reaction time,
yeah, it's like a warning. If only you could have done something different. But I mean, when
Right,
you're in that momentum of motion,
right.
it's like that'd be a trick to interrupt that motion.
And then if you were to look at the hour after, then there would be a whole bunch of other processing, like, am I okay?
The
Did I
adrenaline's
break?
going and all kinds of, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is because was yours a car accident, Helena?
Yeah, we never actually, so I just do want to just say this, because I was in a car with a bunch of yogis going to the airport after having spent a lot of time in Canada studying yoga. I don't know whether we hit something, but our car just spun like this. And I think nearly all of us started going, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Om.
It was like, so there was this kind of protective measure almost that took me into a place of like, okay, I'm just going to connect to spirit. Or I mean, there was no thought there,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
could hear other people in the car going, oh.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So now if we were to just go back and replay this video for the last 5 minutes, you would watch each of you, as you tell the story.
Yeah.
As you tell the story, all of the details get closer and clearer and more immersed. You get more immersed in the story.
Yeah.
You have more gesturing, your facial colors changed, and I'm sure I did too, because I don't like that image of that black truck right in front of me,
Right. Yeah.
And when it's fairly extreme like that, I'm appreciative of my brain for reminding me to pay attention.
Yeah.
I would not like it to stop me from going in my car or going down the driveway. And
Right.
in
Yeah.
extreme cases, it can be paralytic.
Yeah.
A person's fear of,
They're going to,
Yeah.
it's a complete sensory crush that
Yeah.
stops you from wanting to go out your door.
Yeah.
But if you could decode it, you would find all this material in there.
Jamie, when Helena was just recalling that, was she going auditory kinesthetic? It looked like her eyes were going side and not up, but was I seeing that correctly? Did you notice?
I don't know. You might have a clearer picture. Like I can see you really well, but Helena's real blurry for some reason.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
But
it's hard for me to know. But-
Oh, okay.
But that's a good question to ask, okay? And then
Yeah.
if you see a movement, like visual movement or auditory movement or kinesthetic movement, you can ask them, where did you just go then? Or tell me about that. So you're constantly mining, asking for more information about their sensory experience.
Okay.
And if it is trauma though, like I don't want you to go relive your bike accident, Jodi. In
Right.
the middle of the day on, a sunny day.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying about having to be careful. And you can try this right now. Put the time space back in. See it, yeah, see it in a small frame, very far away. Like when I was working with Sandra last week, even postage stamp size. So if for most people, and not knowing what their critical submodalities are, but if you put a stop motion and send an internal movie out on a 1-inch screen, their feelings will get disconnected.
Okay.
So whatever they have to look at that's really painful, it's better to look at it out there. But it takes quite a bit of doing to keep it from coming back in here. That's the art, I think.
There's some comfort for like hanging on to it really close, like your blanket or something. And
Yeah.
like for some people, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times we just don't know how not to,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there is that protection in there. Built
Mhm.
into the programming is the brain trying to keep you from ever having to experience that again.
Mm.
So could I ask a question?
Mhm.
You've used the word dissociation, and I get confused a little bit about, you've talked about it in a way that I perceive is it's a good thing in a way to dissociate from the experience.
Yes.
But what I've seen certain people do is they dissociate, and it can happen in a second, and they just go, they blank out.
Yeah.
And they're not.
I'm
they're
not sure. I'm
all.
not sure if that's a dissociation or just a shutdown.
Yeah.
So just to give an example, I worked with this guy one time. He was a realtor, and he had permanently set up a dissociation. He was like watching his whole life as if it was a movie out there. So, and he's the only one I ever
No
worked with.
feeling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so as a person, he had no affect. He was not a warm, fuzzy person, And in a way, it was like it was like not helping people connect with him,
Right.
you know?
It's like he was walking around with that bubble wrap
Yeah,
all
yeah.
around him.
So it was, and here's what was interesting. So in this case, my goal was opposite. How can I get him into his pictures?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so he was telling me during the session, he said, well, my wife and I had a really bad fight the other day. And he was talking about it like I went to the grocery store to buy milk, like no feeling.
Yeah.
And so what I did there was close the gap. And I said, well, what room of the house were you in? Well, we were
Okay.
in the bedroom. What was the temperature of the air in the bedroom? Well, it was kind of cool. You could almost see that dissociated picture come in on him.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was my intention. Were there any smells in the house? No, just maybe a little from the bathroom. So he could not give me those details without getting closer into the picture.
Okay. Yeah.
So I collapsed the distance in this case. Most of the time I'm trying to set up a distance, and this time I collapsed it. And
Mhm.
and you could, if I had a camera on him, you could see the moment he entered his own picture. His breathing changed, his color changed, his posture changed, his whole body changed. And he said, I said some really bad things to her. It just like, came
Yeah.
in on him. And then I just kind of talked to him about the way he was living his life. I ran into him like weeks later or something like that. And he told me that learning to get into his own movies was changing his life. Like,
Mm.
wouldn't you hate to play with your kids and never really feel them?
Never be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to, if you have extreme traumatic experience, it's really good to learn how to come back out of them. But if you're
Mm.
living your life as a dissociated person, then
Yeah.
you want to collapse back in at those warmest, best times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so let me go back and kind of finish these, and they're very similar. So kinesthetic is really good. I said it's how things feel out here in the world and how things feel here in your body. So location is also an important submodality. Where do you feel this in your body? And you do some of this in your focusing, Helena.
Yes.
And what is the sensation? Like some people get hot, cold, some people get buzz, some people get tingly, some people get a dullness, like trying to fully understand when somebody says, I just feel kind of dull today. What does that mean? Where
Yeah.
does dullness sit in your body, or depression? I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's something so many people say right now.
I know, or
I'm depressed today.
or I'm anxious. Anxiety seems to be popular right now.
Yeah.
So the words like
It's getting in the body to say, well, how does that feel in your body?
exactly, and very, very specifically, where is it? Does it have any anything moving in it? Any moving parts? A lot of people. So the word,
I mean,
anything like the words depression, anxiety, fear, self-doubt, blah, 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 mean nothing without mining the underneath it. Just a beginning introduction to our main modalities and the submodalities underneath them. And as you can imagine from watching this, it takes a lot of practice to begin to observe the subtle movements and cues that you're getting when you're working with somebody that can give you that information. And I keep saying about mining the information, and I think of it a little bit like digging in the dirt. You're going in to find out how exactly do they have this memory, this impression stored neurologically in the brain. And how that is stored in the brain is vastly affecting how they feel about themselves and about their place in the world. And so this was just a beginning introduction, but it's enough that if you just sit and start watching those very first response that you see from people, you're going to begin to see those eye movements, listen for the language they choose to explain, see how they're using their body like Helena was in the one recall. One of the important things for me is to really impress on people that enhancing your sensory takes a lot of practice. It's sort of like a downhill skier. They maybe start on the bunny hill and then eventually they get better, more confident, stronger. And anything that you undertake takes a lot of practice. And so this is no different. And if you're in the people business, this investment you make of time and energy into observing at this level can really enhance what you do. So that's why I'm putting out some of this information. So I hope this was useful to you, and I hope that we have other opportunities to work together and to see what you might discover about yourself or about the people that you're working with. Of the sensory modalities. And so
do you think if you're not in a coaching session and you're just talking with someone and they say, yeah, I feel pretty depressed today, but it's not a coaching session, would you still go there if you, like, sometimes if you wanted to, or would
Yeah.
you just not go there usually?
You know, that's just always a judgment call, you know.
No,
Yeah,
that-
okay.
I always remember my teacher, my NLP teacher, my first teacher was Tom Fairhurst, and I actually named my son after him. My son's name is Tom Fairhurst Christofferson. Lets you lets you know how important this man was, you know. And Tom said he had a friend one time, and his friend was feeling down, and his friend said, I don't know, I just lost all my gumption. And Tom said, well, let me ask you. He said, how do you gump when you're gumping? If you've lost your gumption, how do you gump when you're gumping? And so if you can take a frozen noun, a verb that's become frozen, which is called a nominalization, and start the action again.
Yeah,
So if somebody says, I'm depressed, and Tom also said, if you can't put it in a wheelbarrow, it's not a thing. It's a process, you know. So depression is the process of depressing.
yeah,
Love is a process of loving. Fear is the process of fearing. So you have to get the process pieces, all these submodalities underneath it to fully understand what they're saying. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Interesting.
so
Otherwise,
some,
you have no information. They've just given you a little lump of coal that says, this is my depression.
Yeah.
if someone said, I'm depressed, would you go to, oh, how does it feel when you're pressed? How does it feel to press when you're pressing? Or would would you go to, where do you feel it?
Well,
What does it look like? How does it sound?
you have to somehow open it up, you know,
Okay.
like I used to
So
do
it
an
could be either
exercise.
way. Yeah,
I
okay.
used to do an exercise in my NLP groups, which was really quick and fun. I would just give them words, have them close their eyes and just receive the words. So I would give them ski, skier, skied, skiing, and skili. And if you give them enough time, they make an association of meaning to each word. And guess which one has action in it?
Skiing.
Skiing. Everything else is a frozen picture, except skili, which is a made up word that they don't probably have an association for. Like who's going to associate? What are you going to associate with skili? We can make something up. So just in demonstrating inside your head, I give you a list of words and you attach motion, no motion, whatever. And the only ones that have motion are ing process words. They're verbs. If a verb accidentally becomes a noun, like I drives me crazy when I start every group I start. What do they want? What did you come here for today? What would you like? What would you like to have happen? Well, I would like more peace. Frozen noun. I would like more clarity. Frozen noun. I would like I would like better relationship. Frozen noun, you know. And if I have 25 people in a group, they will all give me a nominalized verb. Every one of them. And when love gets frozen into a non-action word, it loses its heart. The act of loving, using a certain tonal quality, moving in when you need to, moving away when you need to, doing for when you need, doing against when you need, you know. So that's a huge, huge thing that a lot of people don't understand is the difference between a moving process, which most of us are in every day of our lives, versus frozen process.
That's interesting because it does make you, it seemed like the picture I have is that, yeah, we're meant to be in motion and action,
Mhm.
but if we're using frozen nouns all the time, it's like we have great big cement blocks on our feet. So we
Yeah.
want to be in motion, but we can't be in motion.
Yeah, so let's say you're a success coach. Well, guess what the word success is?
A frozen noun.
Yeah, it's a verb that lost its feet. So you have to be succeeding in order to even decode what that means,
Yeah.
you know, and have tangible, moving evidence of what succeeding is all about for you, you know.
Mhm.
And so if your pursuit is for a frozen verb, a noun that's become frozen around a verb, you're out of luck from the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
I
such a
don't-
big
don't
concept.
have to
It
be
is.
Take it through.
Yeah, it is.
And
Don't
so,
get careful that you don't. I mean, you wouldn't say, "Oh, you just said a frozen noun," because it's
no,
kind of
no,
shaming thing.
okay,
Just
no, no. And you have to be
you just
careful.
encourage
I
them to
mean,
go deeper with it. Yeah.
yeah, even in using the outcome frame, which is the outcome frame is the tool for mining this, but you
Right.
have to do it, you know, elegantly. You can't just say, what do you want? How would you know if you had that? What would it look like if you had that? Have you ever had that? You like talk about putting them off. So if somebody says, well, I don't have enough love in my life. And I say, well, can you give me an example of when you did feel loved? Like one moment in time, or, you know, what had to be there in order for you to feel like you were getting loved? Then they have to go deeper under the frozen noun, frozen verb, into experience. Well, I felt loved when, you know, my friend brought me chicken soup when I was sick. See how specific that is versus the frozen nominalization?
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, so you like it when people pay attention to you when you're not feeling well? Yeah, I really like that, you know?
Mhm.
Or when my boss comes in and says, you know, that thing you did the other day, that was a really good job. That's feeling cared about.
Yeah, that's big.
So when somebody gives you a frozen process word, then your first question is, how can I unfreeze it? And have them tell me when that process was running, like what was going on, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mm.
and so when people are, you know, are, and it that discovery process is part of, for me, what makes it so fun. Because you're giving, you know, you're like opening a door into this whole beautiful Victorian house, you know, like, and you just
Mhm.
see the door and you think, that's a nice door. I like that door, you know. But when you ask to be given a tour of that, show me, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's just huge, the amount of information that's under all of that.
Yeah.
So let me go back to kinesthetic.
Yeah.
I think I will go find a list of the full list of submodalities somewhere. I know I have it. So in the body, location, sensation, temperature. You know, like somebody can say something to somebody and their hands will instantly go cold, you know, like this is all being processed in your body kinesthetically.
Mhm.
Can you think of any others? Temperature, weight. You know,
Mm.
like when somebody has a memory that makes them feel crushed, you know.
Would shape and color or size be appropriate?
You just took yourself back to the visual submodalities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But but one can lead to the other always. Like if you like if somebody, remember that day you were working with Tom
Yep,
and a lot of your questions were visual lead
yeah,
and he was kinesthetic action.
yeah,
There was disconnected.
yeah,
And so, and it was clearly disconnected. I mean, we did videotape that. I could show you that. And so, if you're a very strong visual, then you need to know how to ask the questions about auditory tonal quality or kinesthetic quality. Like that's part of our practice as practitioners,
Yeah.
is to
Yeah.
not to miss those because they're not our strength, you know?
And
Right.
just for Helena's benefit, yeah, so Helena, this was a session that I videoed and then Jamie gave me feedback on. And I was getting frustrated because I kept asking visual oriented questions to a kinesthetic person
Kinesthetic.
and he
and
wasn't answering correctly.
And I could show you that too. So I'm going to make a little map down here. So here's so visual right there. Auditory right there. Kinesthetic right there for the eye movements.
Yeah.
And so Jodi would, I mean, we could detail this. Jodi, in her visual way, she's like, well, what would that look like if, you know, and he's going, well, it sounds like I probably don't always feel like, you know, and so she's accessing here and he's looping down here. And you may as well have gone to
Over
the
and
beach.
over and over and
Yeah,
over.
exactly.
That's
And
a fantastic example of, learning that.
yes, yes. And I remember one of the NLP guys said the one with the most flexibility wins. So being
Yeah.
able to, I don't have to be really strong auditory, which I'm not. If you give me 3 auditory directions, I'll lose the first by the time I get to the third.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't stay. I don't learn languages well, I've learned technical problems just out of sheer force of will, So just because you're not strong in one doesn't mean you can't notice when somebody else is accessing it and going there and then
Yeah.
find out more information, especially. I mean, this auditory system is where people are so cruel to themselves again and again and again.
Is
So,
it like the inner critic starts talking to
yeah,
them?
yeah. Or, somebody does them wrong and so they start a nonstop. I do this, unfortunately. Nonstop internal conversation, trying to win the fight. What a waste of time.
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah. And so, under each, so the taste and smell, like if I were to ask that, these are less important, but not to be ignored. Like if, a lot of the triggers in the world are tastes and smells.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, impression, a stored impression can get kicked off by a taste and a smell. The smell of baby diapers, the smell of whatever. So even though we don't spend a lot of time putting those into sequence, we need to know that they can kick things off pretty quickly. And I don't know, like, where do I store a taste? In my mouth. Where do I store a smell? In my nose, So maybe that's why, but boy, they can be important parts of a sequence,
Yeah.
that's getting
Yeah.
a person into trouble.
Aren't they stored in the brain?
Huh?
Are they stored in the brain as well?
Well, all of it's stored in the brain.
Okay.
So like a sensory, you can only have anything in your head if it comes through the senses. So even though human beings have managed to attach language to experience, which makes us human, those words are just representation of the experience. They don't mean anything beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I don't heard someone talking about naming birds or naming, oh, I can hear there's a thrush and there's a blackbird and there's a whatever. And after you've learned all those names, you still don't know nothing about the birds.
yeah, we're just labeling things. That's the same thing with giving frozen noun words to
Right.
process words like love, peace, Christianity, faith, happiness. They're just all
Yeah.
single words attached to huge processes,
Yeah.
complex processes. And
Okay.
not one of those can you own. You can't like own happiness and put it on your wall. They're all ongoing processes.
Ongoing processes.
Mhm.
It just blows my mind when I think about it,
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want
Hmm.
to take us all day, but I want to, and I think maybe if I send you the list and you play with this a little bit, then, so when I'm working with somebody, we'll talk about the associated versus dissociated again.
Okay.
The dissociation very often has to be very intentional. But I think we should save that one for another session like this.
Hmm.
And then I can work with both of you at the same time. And you could even work with me to recall a memory, recall it in an associated way, and then recall it in a dissociated way. And then really, so what you're doing when you're doing that is I keep talking about core self or the strong self, establishing this strong self so you're better able to review that.
Yeah.
Without collapsing into it.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky process, but it's just really, really interesting what happens when you get it really set up. Because you're doing several things. You're changing a neural network, that's a pattern that's firing. If you don't let them just relive everything. I'm reliving it, reliving it, reliving it,
You don't want them reliving it, right?
No.
Because that causes more trauma.
Yeah, it does. And that's what my objection is to a lot of therapeutic techniques is they think that if they relive it enough, that they'll get over it. And you're actually just strengthening the bad neural network.
Exactly.
You're
That's why
reinforcing.
I like the ID work, because it really, the resonators are doing it for you.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of the circle tool too, because
Yes.
it's automatically setting up a dissociation. And constellation work automatically sets up a dissociation. So in doing that, and when I'm working one-on-one with somebody, my goal is to set up a dissociation. Because then this person sitting in the here and now can now see what that 3-year-old getting an enema must have been like, And then it's way different than being the 3-year-old.
Can you do that for yourself? Like if you know there's an area in your life that you are like so close to, it just brings up a lot of
Yes.
emotion all the time. Can you do that for yourself to disassociate and
Yeah,
see it differently?
especially like that's what I'm always hoping. If people do a session with me, I always give them actions to try, to go practice it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
when I was doing this for myself, I probably told you these stories before, but and part of me becoming a teacher and a speaker was getting over this extreme shyness.
Yeah.
And the extreme shyness, a lot of it had to do with Catholic upbringing and like being ashamed of having breasts, being ashamed of, there was just all this stuff there. And so once I learned this and I thought, I know I can keep myself dissociated while I look at that. And so I did it one night. I remember I had this really comfortable chair, but it was orange, which I don't like orange at all. But I got in this recliner and I just sat there in a meditation. And I established myself at my right age in the ugly orange chair. And I just kept reminding myself of the ugly orange chair and invited any memories that I had of those parts of myself that were part of this sequence to come out. So I imagined myself walking down a pretty little wooded road, and then all these little shy parts of myself started coming out of the woods, and each one had a memory attached to it. Oh, that's the girl that had blood on her skirt in sixth grade. That's the girl whose sadistic gym teacher made her drop her swimming suit and go to the lockers naked in sixth grade. That's the girl that didn't know where to get a nickel to buy a pad. That's the girl that wore a white sweater in fifth grade so nobody could see her breasts, And so they were the saddest little bunch of girls, But when you're not associated into them, your big compassionate heart just says, oh, my girls, come with me. I'll take care of you. So I basically did my own healing session around that. And it was huge. And I still remember every one of them, but I'm not them. So when you ask, can you plug that in for yourself? Absolutely. The thing that's almost impossible to do is if you get triggered, like I was jokingly telling you what my brother said, calling the toolkit a Ouija board, which puts me in touch with all of the memories I had of different people thinking I'm flaky,
Yeah.
And so if you get triggered, you might lose yourself, but then you have awareness of, oh, I just lost myself. I better come back.
Yeah.
I better come and take a look at it. So that can be just as lightning quick. Oops, I lost myself. Oops, I'm back.
Okay.
And to me, that's what strength looks like. Because then you're out in a world that's throwing triggers at you everywhere. But you're not reacting to everyone. You get to stay yourself and choose what you want to act on or react on,
Yeah.
I have a question about, and maybe this is the answer would be too big for right now. But I have a couple of people, one's a client, one's a friend, who, when we're talking, they just talk a lot.
Uh-huh.
And then they go off into, just arbitrary things.
So Sandra did that the other day. This woman, I had just met her the first time, and it's funny because I don't know if I know Jodi knew about, I was going to teach a pebble art class in another town that got canceled, and then somebody in their group went and taught pebble art, and I was pissed off. But I didn't react to her, and then now she's become a client or something. But I almost couldn't get around it. She came in talking. She did not stop talking. And an interesting thing happens to me, and I know it's from years of working in the field, but I get narcoleptic, almost like, oh, and a numbness and a weight on my chest, and my body gets heavy, and that's not useful for them, and it's not useful for me. So I let her do that. for probably 15 minutes which is extreme for me to let somebody do that. And then I just cut her off.
Just tell her, you know, put a $sign up and just I say, this is a joke. Keep
Every
talking.
15 minutes that you talk.
The numbers start going up.
I should tell them I charge double if you do all the talking. That would be funny. But when Jodi and I did the presentation in the cities, the first presentation with the circle tool, there was a woman in there that I cut her off from telling stories, and she didn't really like that I did that. But once people get to know me and know why I'm doing that, they get it, you know. Like Sandra the other day, when she just was, she wanted to give me her whole life history, you know. And I finally just stopped her and I said, well, we could do this for another hour, but why don't you let me do what I do? You know, like ask the questions. Yeah. Or you can very gently just say, this is an example of the kind of looping you're doing. And that's what we want to look at.
Looping.
You know, these stories that you're telling me, you have told these stories a lot. They're part of the loops and the sequences that you're looking to change.
Yeah.
Let's start to understand what's driving that wheel, you know. So I know people, and I was really thinking about this after the Monday group, Jodi.
Yeah.
I'm a different person when I'm working with somebody. Like I can cut through. I can just tell them stop, you know.
Yeah.
And so in this group that we're trying, I can't be everybody's friend, nice girl, and the kind of teacher that I am at the same time. And I'm not sure how to balance that. But I know, you know, in coming in blind to Peg's constellation groups all those years was perfect for me. I'm this sort of anonymous, unknown entity that everybody's afraid of, you know, and their knees would knock and they would, you know, but it was kind of perfect because I had permission and the ability to just not let them go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost think I've been thinking a lot about that Monday call.
Okay. I want to be doing what we just did today.
Yeah.
I don't want to be giving nonstop intros and nonstop. I really want, this is like would be my dream would be to work with, you know, a few people like you guys that really want to know this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I should be doing the intros right now because for me, that's still good practice and connecting and whatever.
And even the exercises.
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what we, you know, like when I say that, this kind of, I've just really enjoyed what we did today because I got to take you guys deeper into my world, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the world I live in every day, watching all this stuff. And it would be my preference to be the one that brings this. It's great to know whether somebody's seeing pictures, words, you know. The eye movements are great, but these submodalities are where it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just do that so subtly. Like if somebody, you know, just ask them how, you know, how do you see that? Or what does that look like to you? Just ask them. Or where do you feel that in your body? So Helena, if Jodi's too driven by her visual, you're too driven by your kinesthetic.
Right.
Okay. And so in a way, it's weird. It's like your strength can become your weakness if you're not careful.
Right.
Yeah, it totally can. Yep.
Because like, I always think of it like a three-legged stool. If you're able to go to the system you need to go to, you're gonna be stronger.
That's
If you
good.
default to your favorite system and go nowhere else, then you're weaker.
Yeah. And I think I've done that a lot over different courses and all kinds of things. And I've got really annoyed with people when they try and tell me systems,
Uh-huh.
or they try and organize me and get me to be auditory or visual or whatever. And I'm like, nah. And I have just seen, maybe especially over the last few years, that I really need to get systems in order. And then I need to.
Well, and it's not about losing something of who you are. It's about
Right.
adding. You
Yeah.
know, like I have tried to strengthen my auditory system, and I do really tune into tonalities and all of that, but I'm sure not the engineers and the mathematicians
no.
and the computer whizzes. You'll see they're strong auditory, every one of them, even accountants.
Mm, mhm,
And it's my
mhm,
most challenging person to work with or be with.
mhm, mhm.
So it's okay to know what your strengths are, but our ongoing goal is to be flexible and able to move to the system that's in
Yeah.
play.
Mhm.
This is good. This is good.
But you don't have to give up anything of who you are. Your strengths will still be your strengths, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really like this little camera.
I know, I want to get one. It's perfect. I
I
mean,
mean-
the visual is awesome with it.
I kind of liked this doodling thing almost better than a PowerPoint.
The only thing is that it's sideways for us.
Oh, was it?
Oh, that's true.